You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What a beautiful day for horses in the morning.
You are listening to the #1 horse podcast in the world. Here is your entertaining look at the horse world and the people in it.
This is Ashley Winch in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I'm Kat Gunther from White Lake, Michigan, and you're listening to the Quarter Horse Podcast for April 21st. Good morning, Horse World.
Kat, today's episode is something you know a little bit about.
It is. Equestrian entrepreneurs. My favorite thing ever.
Female equestrian entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Lady bosses. We love to
Girl
see
boss.
it.
Yes.
Before we dive into our guest, Kat, tell our listeners a bit about your experience in the equestrian entrepreneurial space, which makes you sound so cool.
Sounds cooler than the reality, but when I was 13, my dad said, okay, you want to show horses? It's expensive. You got to help pay for it. So that's when I went to a tax sale and I bought a shirt for like maybe $50 and then flipped it on Facebook for $100. And I was like, oh, wait a second. There's a way to make some money here. So that's how Behind the Bit started.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped fund my horse show habit up until college. And it didn't take care of everything, but, it definitely helped.
Yeah.
Where the entrepreneurial bug really bit me.
And then you guys went on to do another wraps business, right?
So then, yes, wraps are separate. So that's a product that re-rolls wraps for horses' legs. You can find it on Amazon. Shameless little plug here. But it mounts on the stalls so you can, bring it with you to horse shows. You can put it on your trailer. You can put it right to your stall and not use the hooks. So it's pretty versatile.
So really, from a young age, you found a way not only to fund this terrible habit we all have, but so you bad. Also, you became a creative problem solver. You found problems and thought about how to make a solution, which is a skill, that's a muscle you have to practice growing. Like, at least for me, I can't just make up an invention. I will never forget that was a project in 4th grade, and I had the hardest time trying to make up an invention. I'm like, everything's already been invented. What do you want from me? And I duct taped something to a spray bottle.
Yeah, you have to find the problem and then be like, okay, so what's the solution? And it's never an easy answer. And there's always so many hurdles. Entrepreneurial people, I feel like everybody that's an entrepreneur has a similar mindset and a similar tenacity to really give it their all, but it's exhausting.
Well, and it's very much puzzle making, but none of the pieces fit. And you don't know what the picture's supposed to look like, but you're making the puzzle anyway.
You're speaking my language. It's like walking down a path and you don't know which way to go, but you're like, I think I go that way, maybe. Oh, nope, I just fell, hit my head.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Try again. Just kidding.
Well, I am so excited to talk to our guests today. As stated, they're quarter horse girls that have seen problems and worked really hard to find some really cool solutions. But before we start the party, we need to announce the winner of our gift card from last episode to Katie Van Slyke's merch store. Kat, I'll drum roll.
Jolene Denny is our winner.
Congrats, Jolene. You also have my favorite name. That's my dog's name. And I love Dolly Parton so much.
So pretty. I think of that song right away.
I just love Dolly. We call her Aunt Dolly around our house, actually, because Levi signed up for the Imagination Library, so she sends him a free book every month.
Oh,
yeah.
So sweet.
We love Dolly Parton, but not as much as we love Jolene Denny. Yay! Yep. This episode is brought to you by Farnam and Endure Gold Killer Fly and Mosquito Control, a new fly spray for horses. Discover fly protection redefined with Endure Gold. Made to annihilate flies, ticks, and mosquitoes with brand new EPA-approved ingredients never before seen in equine care, Endure Gold is backed by science and built for hard work, delivering fast knockdown and up to 14 days of fly protection. Add Endure Gold to your arsenal and upgrade your fly control rotation.
Whitney Lloyd is the founder of MarkWest Denim, a brand built on a simple idea. Horse girls deserve jeans that perform as well as they do in the saddle. After years of dealing with jeans that couldn't keep up in the saddle, Whitney decided to build her own. The result is MarkWest, premium American-made riding jeans designed specifically for the realities of the horse girl lifestyle.
Thanks for joining us today, Whitney. Our first question for you is, how has your experience showing horses helped to shape the way you run your business? We're all horse girls here. We know that horse shows are always chaotic, no matter how many times you check your checklist. So tell us about how those two things kind of work together for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking me to join. This is a big honor for me, so I'm excited to be here and talk to you guys today. I think showing horses has informed absolutely everything about who I am and how I run my business. So it's kind of hard to separate showing horses from who I am. But I think the biggest way that it sort of informs how I run my business is that, you know, showing horses, there are no shortcuts, right? You may have these really big goals that you want to work toward, a big show, a big class, a big win, but you really can't shortcut the process. And if you try to shortcut the process, the cracks are going to show under pressure, right? Like something that looks really good at home or in the warm-up pen, you walk through that in gate, and if it's not totally ready, it's going to fall apart because it just will not hold up to that pressure. And that's something that I've really applied to MarkWest. Every single pair of jeans, every single product we will introduce in the future is really, really put through its paces before it ever makes it to a customer. So the product development process is incredibly expensive, and we spend a lot of time and money with each product to make sure that what I tell you it's going to do when you wear it, when you get to the barn, when you get in the saddle with it, it actually does. So, I mean, we spent 3 years in product development and went through 8 prototypes before we ever launched, before we ever sold a pair of jeans, because I know this community well enough that I know that, like, if you launch something and it doesn't really work, or it's just like every other pair of jeans that you have hanging up in your closet, people will not come back to you. You have to have something that is really going to like knock people's socks off when they put it on, and it just has to be so head and shoulders above anything else on the market. So we made that investment to really go through a really rigorous saddle testing process, and if anything didn't work when I saddle tested it, we went back to the drawing board. So if the waistband gap, a seamed rub, the leg twisted, or it rode up over my boot, or it, like rubbed a saddle sore, or anything didn't work, we went back to the drawing board. I mean, we were like 5 prototypes in, and I decided the denim that we were using wasn't holding its shape well enough. It was kind of like giving you saggy butt after you wore it. So we just scrapped it and started all over with a different fabric, because it just, like, those details really matter. And if they're not perfect, sort of in the warm-up pen, if you will, they're definitely not going to be perfect when you put them under pressure in the show pen or once you launch sales. So yeah, so I think that's probably the biggest thing about showing horses that I take into my business is there are no shortcuts, and everything has to be really, really dialed in and solid before you're ready for prime time.
And there's nothing worse than when there's uncomfortable jeans and you're trying to warm up and it's hot out, and I hate that feeling so
Yeah,
much.
no, yeah, so do I. I mean, I'm somebody who, like, if something I'm wearing is distracting me, pulling focus from my horse, like if my sock is slipping down inside my boot, or like the shoulders on my show shirt are too tight and I can't like move my arms effectively, anything like that that's going to pull focus for me. And I don't want that. I want to be completely in the moment, like there with my horse, like 100% locked in. And that's really what drove me to start MarkWest. Is I was trying, every other pair of jeans that I saw the cool girls at the horse shows wearing, thinking like one of these jeans has to be perfect because everybody's wearing them. So like there has to be some holy grail jean out there. And there wasn't. I tried everything, and everything somehow did something that distracted me from my horse and my ride. So I wanted to create a pair of jeans that, like, you put them on and they're so comfortable and they fit so well and they're so functional that, like, once you have them on, you don't think about them again for the rest of the day, because they're just so functional for you that you can go ride all day long and they're never ever pulling focus from what you're doing with your horse.
That makes a lot of sense. So what's your background with quarter horses and showing? Kind of run us through that.
Yeah, so I'm like a lifelong horse girl. I started out, I think like a lot of us do, at like a local barn doing, the county fair and 4-H shows and that sort of thing. And I actually started out riding English. So I did like I rode at a very English barn. I did jumping, a little cross country, some dressage, that sort of thing. And then when I was like about 13, I think there was an older girl in my community who had like a really nice for like open shows Western horse, and she went off to college and they sold this horse. And I was just like, there's always that horse girl that you like really look up to as a little girl that you want to be just like her kind of thing. So I was so lucky my parents bought me this horse. And so he was more Westerny. And so I started learning how to ride Western. And there was a guy who boarded at my barn who actually was into showing halter horses on the quarter horse circuit. And so he was like so kind and was like, "Hey, I think you're good enough for quarter horse." I was not like, I was not even in the realm of being ready for quarter horse. But he's like, "Hey, why don't I haul you to a couple of quarter horse shows with my halter horses and like you can check it out." So he hauled me to a quarter horse show, and it was like this like aha moment for me. Like I was like just absolutely enamored with like how well trained the horses were, how beautiful they like moved, how beautiful everybody's outfits were. And I was like, is it. Like, I want to be part of this. So at that point, I started showing quarter horses, but like very much just kind of like on the state level, that sort of thing. And I didn't really make it into like a really great barn until the very end of my youth career. And then it was time to like, sell the horses and like finish school and get an internship and be an adult and all of that. So I kind of like just kind of got into quarter horse and then it was time to like move on. So I was out of horses for 14 years. And the entire time I was out of it, told myself like every single day, I will make it back there someday. And I think my mom ultimately just got sick of listening to me say like someday, someday, someday. So about, let's see, 6 or 7 years ago now, I guess, he finally just said, "Well, call your old trainer and see if we can get back into it." And I was like, "Really?" Like, "Oh, okay." So I called my old trainer and I said, "Hey, like, remember me? I'd like to come back." And so they started looking for a horse for me and found the first mare that I got back into showing with at the Congress in 2019. And so then from there, I, got back into showing, and it was like, it was sort of like turning on a light switch in a room that you didn't know was dark. It was like, oh, this is what has been missing in my life. So yeah, so it's just been like a wonderful journey of like coming back to the horse world after a long time away from it. And I like never ever want to leave it ever again.
I totally agree. And I think that story will resonate with a lot of our listeners. Surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, a majority of our listeners end up taking a hiatus from horseback riding similarly to finish school, to start their careers, to get married, to have the babies. And then, we wake up in our 30s or 40s or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, where's my horse? Like, I'm still a crazy horse girl deep down in here. I need to, let that creativity, for lack of a better word, feed that fire. So I want to pivot a little bit and ask you where the name for your company came from, MarkWest Denim. I'd love to hear the story there.
Yeah, absolutely. So MarkWest has kind of a double meaning. The first is that I think the type of woman who will wear MarkWest jeans, it's a very innovative product. It's not like every other pair of jeans on the market, is the type of woman who's going to put her own mark on the Western world. So that's kind of the first meaning of it. And then the second part of the meaning is that it's actually inspired by my grandpa, Mark, who is the person who introduced me to horses. He grew up farming with draft horses in the Great Depression and went on to be a very successful businessman and farmer, incredibly kind, generous person. And I think his hard work really sort of laid the foundation for my love of horses, certainly, but also a lot of opportunities I've been able to have in my life were thanks to what he and my grandma did for our family. So it's just kind of my way of honoring that legacy that he created for me and my family.
And was there a defining moment that you said, I really want to just start a business in the equestrian world? And if so, what was that moment?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny. I think the idea was kind of rumbling around in my head for a while before I really like grabbed a hold of it and said, okay, I'm going to do this. But certainly it was like that whole, I was out of horses for 14 years. So like the style of jeans that people were wearing had changed a lot in the 14 years that I was away. So I came back and I'm like, like I said, what are the cool girls wearing? I'm going to try these jeans. So I ordered and tried on absolutely everything. And just like, everything was just kind of like, okay, it's a pair of pants. Like it's not doing anything for me. And so I, I just kind of thought to myself, like, why isn't anybody taking this seriously? Like, why are we just okay with something that's good enough? Like, we literally wear jeans all day, every day. It's the most essential garment if you ride in a Western saddle. And we're all just kind of like, yeah, these are fine. Like, why? Like, we're athletes. Athletes need gear that helps them perform better in their sport, but we don't have that. Like, why is that? So that was kind of like frustrating me for quite a while. And I can remember being at the Golden Gulf Coast when it was in Tampa still, and some friends from the barn were sitting around and they were complaining about a very popular brand of jeans in our industry that will remain nameless, and how they are kind of known to like blow out on the inner thigh, like rub thin and start to like rip and separate as you wear them. And I had a pair of that brand of jeans on and mine were doing that. And I like pointed out like the inner thigh on my jeans and how they were wearing thin. And I remember saying offhand, like, I think I could come up with a better pair of jeans than like what's out there. And then that just sort of rolled around in my head for about 6 months before I decided, like, okay, let me try to figure out how you do this. And, you sort of think like in this day and age, you can Google anything, you'll figure it out online. And like breaking into like denim is not something you can Google, unfortunately, because it's especially if you want to make the jeans here in the US like we do, there are very few places to do it. These places are like very old school. They don't really exist online. And if you even are lucky enough to find a phone number for them and call them, like they don't answer the phone. They won't get back to you. They don't know who you are. They want you to have like these huge orders before they'll even take you seriously. And obviously, as a small brand, you don't want to order thousands of pairs of jeans. You need to make a small order to see if there'll be any traction for your idea. So it was an incredibly complicated process to figure out. So that was incredibly complicated. And then when you layer in the idea that like these jeans really have to work before I'm going to sell them to somebody, then like once we sort of had the right partners in place in terms of factory and pattern makers and raw material suppliers and all of that, then we went into this development process that went on for 3 years to try to like dial in the fit and the function in the saddle.
That's a perfect segue because I do want to touch on the features that make your jeans so cool, which includes a hidden cell phone pocket. And I lean towards English riding and cannot tell you the amount of times that I have to like shove my phone in my sports bra, shove my phone in my pants, like wear my fanny pack, like the fact that there's a hidden pocket specifically for my phone and I don't have to worry about it falling out. Incredible. No waist gapping. This is a problem that my mom to this day suffers from, the poor little gap because she's so tiny. And then there's also no more hip bunching. No leg twisting, the comfort ride crotch gusset. Like, listen, we're all girls here.
Yes.
That is so important. Okay.
That's so important.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Yeah. It's like something people don't want to talk about. Again, it's like something else. Like we were just putting up with these jeans that are like fine. And they're also just like rubbing holes in our body. And we're just like, yeah, it's fine. I'm bleeding right now. But
it's fine.
We'll just carry on. I'm like, what are we doing? Honestly, like, why are we accepting this? Why has no one done this yet?
Well, because a girl had to get in there and do it. Clearly.
You have to take charge of these things, I tell you.
Yeah, we do. We really do.
And
sure.
The last feature I wanted to make sure I mentioned, because this stuck out to me in a huge way, is that all of your jeans are saddle safe trim. So you're not going to be rubbing your saddle in a way that's damaging with your rhinestones or whatever, because these saddles are actually designed for riders, like you said. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So like all of the features are super intentional for horse girls. And when I started this design process, I started with like that list of features I wanted to do. And I didn't even know if it was going to be possible to take those features and turn them into a garment. But I was lucky to work with a very talented denim designer who has been in the denim world for like 40 years. And she is not a horse girl, but she rides bikes all the time. And so like she could kind of wrap her mind around like the idea of the posture your body takes and what's uncomfortable when you're in like a unique posture. Because most jeans are just designed like they're fit like standing up. Okay, great. Like, yeah, we all want to look good when we're walking around at the barn or walking around at the show or in real life. But like, there's a big difference in fit between sitting in a chair even, and then getting into the saddle because your body takes a really unique posture in the saddle. So all of the features were really designed to work when you're in that posture in the saddle and solve like the fit issues and the discomfort we've all been dealing with for years in the saddle. So yeah, and like speaking of like the something as small as a trim, like the rivets on our jeans are all like rounded, so they won't scratch your tack. They won't like snag your show shirt if you're like carrying it on a hanger down the aisle or like wearing it with your jeans or whatever. We also treat the wash of our denim so that it doesn't bleed. I mean, how many times have you like gotten a new pair of jeans, gone out, ridden in them, been sweaty, and then like your legs are blue when you take the jeans off, or your rough out work saddle is like completely covered in like indigo, right? Which just absolutely makes me insane. So we worked really hard with our wash house to treat the jeans as much as possible to cut down on that transfer of indigo. And that's something that people just absolutely love because again, that's something else we spend, like the most valuable thing I own other than my horse is my saddle. And yet we're just like, yeah, these jeans are bleeding all over it. I'm like, what? Like, why are we saying okay to this? So we tried really hard to solve that problem as well.
It sounds like you thought of everything. Like there's literally nothing I can think of that you missed when designing these jeans.
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I really tried to I mean, I'm a horse girl, right? This is like my absolute favorite thing to do is ride and to be in the saddle. So it's like I tried to think of absolutely everything that we need in the saddle to have a really effective pair of jeans. And I'm just really happy that we were able to actually like take all of those ideas and put them into a real garment that works for women of different sizes, different body types, different ages. People's bodies change as you get older, obviously. And it's been cool to see how these jeans work for youth girls to selects. It's awesome when I get to see people try them on and just kind of see how well they fit for such a wide variety of women.
Mm-hmm. And so for our last question, we always ask, what's your favorite funny story with your quarter horse? It could be in the show pen, around the barn. What do you think of when you think of like a funny story?
And I don't, it's so funny to me. Like we do this because we want to win, right? Like that's like, we're not out here spending, just an insane amount of money on this sport because like we want to just pad the numbers, right? Like nobody's here for that. We all want to win. But like, I always think it's funny that like, yes, there are some wins or some really great places that I remember, but like, even like the next week after a horse show, I'm like, what place did we get? Like, I don't remember, right? Like, so like the stories that I think I really like are just like the goofy, crazy things that happen like with your barn friends. Like, I don't know even if it's like on the way to a horse show or like, something that happened when you were waiting until 2 a.m. to do the horsemanship or whatever it is. So I think that's like the thing that kind of keeps us all coming back is like, yeah, we love to win. And yeah, it's amazing when you do, but like, those moments are like few and far between for most of us, right? Like it's incredible when you do that, but most times you're not going to do that. And like what keeps us coming back is just these like wacky off the wall things that sort of like happen on the journey towards those wins that we get here and there along the way. So yeah.
Very well said. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Whitney.
Yeah, of course. Again, it was such an honor to be asked, and I'm really happy I had the opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Jessica Haynes is the owner and founder of the Longe Line Lady, a growing equine brand known for high-quality functional rope gear used by horsemen across the industry. In 2023, As she dove deeper into breeding and raising foals, she discovered a passion for the Longe Line class, but also the financial challenge that came with it. What started as a simple idea to help her fund her own program quickly evolved into the Longe Line Lady. Welcome to the show, Jessica.
So, Jessica, just to start, could you give our listeners a little overview about Longe Line classes and kind of how they work?
Sure. Yeah. So the Lunge Line class is designed really for young horses to be able to get some exposure early on. It prepares them for riding under saddle. So you're judged on the ground. They're on the lunge line. They go both directions, walk, trot, canter. The judges will also look at the fitting and showing of the lunge line to see how your horse is prepared, and then they will exhibit both in both directions, walk, trot, canter. So the horse should be kind of mimic under saddle movement, depending on what discipline they're in. They can show an English or a Western attire. So the handler would either be in Western attire or English attire. And it's just a really cool way that's kind of got it's caught on and got a lot of popularity I would say within the last few years. A lot of people are getting into the babies, and this gives them something extra and fun to do with the babies besides just halter.
I love that. And so it's a functional training, like you said, instead of just a halter class. I understand that the idea for your business really came from necessity. Tell me about how this started as an idea and came to where we are today.
Yeah. So it's no secret having horses is a luxury and also a pretty expensive hobby.
Wait, stop. Jessica.
Yeah.
Earth-shattering news.
Breaking news.
So I too learned that lesson. I was a little spoiled growing up. My parents kind of footed the bill for me growing up with my horse hobby. And unfortunately it didn't go away in my adult life. It only got way worse. And so I really started becoming a collector, and I got into breeding horses. So I needed to find a way to be able to afford it, to be honest. And so that's where the idea really stemmed from was, okay, how can I do this and have fun with it, but also maybe even make a little money and be able to figure it out as an adult. And so that's really what sparked the idea of creating my own business. I before that I was not a business owner. I didn't have any experience in it. So I just kind of took the leap, and it turns out that it did catch on pretty fast. So I was really thankful for that.
So how do you balance showing and running a business in the equestrian world? It sounds like you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, I do. So I in the more recent years, we've done a lot more of like the open shows and maybe like the lower level quarter horse stuff. Being a mom and also working a job and managing the farm at home and running a business, there's a lot. So there's a lot that goes to it. But I think that I really have a group of people that support me and help me, especially my husband, that make it possible. And I mean, it's a lot of work. We get up early, we do chores, I'm making lunge lines at 4 a.m. and coming home from work and working until late at night after working horses and being outside and trying to squeeze in time being a parent. I mean, it's hard. We all juggle lots of different things to be able to make it work, but it really is a labor of love. I love doing it. I love the horses. I love the babies. And I really love making lunge lines. It sounds a little bit silly, but each product, each line that I make, is handmade by me in my living room. And, I think that's special. I think that's important.
I think that's beautifully said. Intention goes a long way, whether you believe in it or not. And I was looking at your website earlier, and can I just say the fact that I can get a yacht rope lunge line makes me feel so bougie. Like,
I love that.
we need to market this. I am obsessed. I've seen paracord, sure, and the solid braids, but I really am obsessed with the yacht rope. How did you source yacht rope? How did you come across that idea to use it as a material?
Yeah, so it's I love the yacht rope. It's definitely our best seller, and it's really caught on, I would say, this last year. I think what really caught my attention was how many colors that it came in, and all the different bright colors. And now I'm starting to add in like different mixes and different variations of yacht rope. We have the nylon option, but then we're looking at always expanding. But I would say the yacht rope is by far our most popular product for training the yearlings at home and getting them prepared. There's a little bit more weight to it, but it's also really soft, and it's light enough feel that it's not going to make your arm tired for having to hold it up for too long. And a lot of people like the yacht rope better because the paracord is a lot thinner. It's only 5/16 of an inch. And so, if you're really dealing with one that's a little bit wild on the line, that's going to give you some rope burn. So a lot of times people will order that yacht rope with a chain on it and use that as their practice line, and then use the paracord one for at shows. But yeah, we love the yacht rope. I really push that one pretty hard because until you have it and feel it, you don't understand. It's like it really is a bougie lunch line. So you have to really appreciate it.
I love it. I feel like I'd be there with the yacht rope in one hand, Starbucks in the other.
Yes.
Just kind of being a diva.
Yeah.
Oh, so Jessica, you mentioned that you train. What's your background with quarter horses?
Yeah. So my background is, I grew up showing. We had POAs, and my first horse was a quarter horse. But really, my focus right now is I do a lot of work with the babies, and I love working with them from, weanlings up to yearlings. When it comes to breaking horses out, that's not really my specialty. I've kind of lost that nerve in me over the years.
I feel you and I see you, Jessica.
Yes.
After I turned 30, I was like,
Yes.
no.
Yeah, it's not me anymore.
No.
But, on the ground stuff, I love taking them out and getting them exposure and hauling them and just teaching them the basic things like how to tie, how to load, how to be a good citizen so that they can go on and have good futures as a contributing member of society.
I have to ask because last episode we had Katie Van Slyke on, and she owns VS Code Red. And I was curious if you have any favorite sires or sires that you always get a good baby out of that you'd want to share.
So I might be a little bit biased because I stood and owned the stallion the most for the last 3 years. I've recently sold him, but I've had some really cool babies from him. I have two yearlings coming up this year that I'm planning on lunging, and I'm really excited for my filly by him. But I try to stick to more of the hunt seat type sires. I like them. I like the bigger horses.
Mm-hmm.
I like the bigger bones, and I like the height. So my my preference is the hunt seat lunge line. So that's why I bred a lot of my mares to the most. I've also had some really cool yearlings out of he's not standing anymore. Meant to be. He was by Machine Made. And I had 3 of them, and they were all just really good-minded and just solid horses that love to lunge. So, yeah, those would probably be my 2 favorites.
So when running a business, there's a lot of similarities to showing, right? It's very chaotic. There's a lot going on. How has the lessons from showing translated to you running your business?
So, for me, running my business it really started as kind of a side hustle. I think long term, I would love to make this my full-time job that's able to support my family. For showing, I've always done it as much as I can. As an adult, my focus has had to really kind of shift on, okay, where's my priority? Now my daughter's 8 years old and wants to get into showing horses and riding. And, I think sometimes I have to step back and say, okay, what is my priority here? What do I want to spend my time and money on? And how can I make this the best experience for my family? So I think both of them, when I'm looking at them aligned, is my priority. My priorities have to be what's going to be best for my family long term, and really what can I afford. But I have that fire. I love these horses, and I have such a drive to make it work at all possible. I want to be with them, and I want to show them, and I want to do what I can so that I can have fun and with my daughter, and now we can do it together. So that's kind of my stance and my priority in life now, and that may change.
Very well said. And Kat and I are both mama's girls and grew up showing with our moms. And I think that's a really beautiful, beautiful thing. Some of my favorite memories with my mom are from, decades of showing together. So I wish you guys all of the best memories.
I love that.
And blue ribbons ahead.
That's right.
And if not, at least good stories, which brings me to our last question, which I have to warn you, this is the hardest question for all of our guests. So we asked all of them the same one. Share with us either your favorite or funniest quarter horse story. Something went crazy sideways in the ring or a funny habit, just something to make everybody smile.
Yeah, I have a good one.
Yay, so, good for you.
when I first started getting into lunging horses, I think this was like 2022 or 2023. It was my first big quarter horse show. And I no one knew who I was. I didn't really know anybody either. I just started getting into it. And I had my horse out in the warm-up pen, and he was just acting like really just fresh and wild and wanting to buck around on the line. And this was like 30 minutes before my lunge line class. And I'm thinking, oh, great. Yeah, this. My favorite saying is horses keep you humble. And I was just thinking that like, yep, I'm going to get humbled. Here we go. So we're out. It's like, kind of cooler weather. We're out in the warm-up pen, and he's bucking around, and all of a sudden I give him a yank on the line, and my horse is completely loose. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm standing there holding a rope, and there goes my horse sprinting across, loose with all these horses around and people giving me the look. And it's like my worst nightmare unfolding in front of me. So after that happened, that's what really got me thinking, okay, I need to have more of a solid line. Like, if I'm going to have these yearlings on the end that are acting stupid, I want my rope hard knotted to their halter. Like, I don't want any risk of of these horses getting loose and embarrassing me. So that was one of the main things that was like, all right, let's start getting creative here, because I think I could probably make myself feel more secure if I had more secure line. I hate being embarrassed, and I definitely don't want to be embarrassed on horses, but that was one of those times that did happen to me. But it turned out to be a good thing. It kind of opened some doors for me.
I was going to say, way to make a silver lining out of that one, girlfriend.
That's right.
Honestly.
That's right.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to drop links to your website and Facebook in the show notes so people can find you. And safe trails ahead. Happy lunging. Thanks so much for tuning into the Quarter Horse Podcast on Horses in the Morning. Be sure to like, subscribe, and tell your friends all about the world's favorite breed of horse.